Welcome back YouTubers to my channel, The Everyday Life of an Aspie. If you're new to my channel, I'm Aspie. I'm all about creating mental health and awareness and sharing my life stories with Autistic syndrome, OCD and the like, as well as creating awareness and understanding through it all, as well as along the way through it all of what you guys may personally go through, be it your mental health or personal struggles, with tips and advice, as well as just words of encouragement to enlighten your mode or day so that you can gain some clarity, understanding and whatnot to what's going on. So as I said before, basically I'm at this point of time trying to give myself a break on the narcissistic and sociopathic series, because I know there's going to be more to come, as well as these mental health disorders that needs to be tidied up. But I'm hoping before then though to do some more of the autism and series, which I'm doing now, because obviously next month is Autism Awareness Month, so I'm just trying to figure out what we can do or I can do as an autistic to invite you all on this journey with me, basically, even though I feel sometimes there's not much awareness here in NZ, as I mentioned. So I'm going to try and see what we can do at this point of time, because after following a guy on YouTube for a while now of Toasty Mac, or Steven is his name, that I follow, that he's actually done a shout out of what to do for the people in America and probably outside America, of where he's located, of doing some artistical drawings and whatnot to actually, sell up our art projects if we're into art and whatnot. So I don't know as of yet, but I'll let you know hopefully once I do my research and see what we can do, and actually maybe see if I can gather some of the autistic people that's in the autistic community on Facebook maybe to join us and stuff, and see how we go. But I'll let you know hopefully closer to time. So this one's obviously, as I said, going to be all about the Autistic and series, or just some of the life of an Aspie series based on my everyday life experiences and whatnot, that many probably people that are autistic may be able to relate, because obviously, as I said so many times before, that we're not all the same. However, we all tend to feel things differently and wire things differently on our mindset, depending on our age and stages of development where we're at in our life of this condition. So this one's going to be called What Autistic Shutdown is Like for Me and Many Others Like Me. So hopefully you'll be able to gain a better understanding about me, even though hopefully within this though of what I've been sharing when I first started the channel, you are getting to know me more as a person. I know sometimes it's kind of hard when, I'm on screen, and many people probably would like to see me in the flesh, like who doesn't, I would love to try and meet new people, even though, like I said so many times before, it gets so exhausting to the point that I keep pushing. And I just try my hardest to socialise in smaller groups, not larger groups like I used to. But anyway, moving on, let's begin this before I run out of time. Okay. As you're aware or not aware, that shutdowns are a part of my everyday life as a person with Asperger's syndrome, or any other person on that autism spectrum scale, be it on the high and low functioning scale, even though I'm trying to dismiss these terminologies. So humbly apologise to anyone that doesn't like using these words, but I'm trying to be careful what I use to not offend. But then again, you've got to bear in mind there can and will always be multiple root causes for these type shutdowns that I go through, as well as also the people like me that is autistic. This may involve including the result of a sensory overload that has come so much and it's clouding our perceptions, our judgment and everything else, or just a sensory overload just there on the spot with a lot of things going on in the background, be it background noise of sort of things we can't think, bright lights and everything else that leads to that. Could also be physical and mental exhaustion, unexpected news that we weren't prepared for, however, be it maybe a death of a loved one or death of a family friend or whatever. Anxiety about an upcoming event, maybe for that would be a classic example for most of us autistics, would be, trying to socialise with a group of people, maybe hearsay. So a family get-together is coming up maybe for us, and it's just like really building up in us. And the different types of meltdowns that I have clearly mentioned, be it your anger meltdown, your upset meltdown stage, or what if type meltdown that I've shared so far. Depending on these types of meltdowns I may have, it could be the upheaval of an everyday schedule that has changed within its roots, regardless what it has happened throughout the day that I had planned. And I have to maybe hearsay drops something out of the top of my hat and actually try and manage with the change in my schedule. Sometimes it can come in a combination. So other times it may just come down to simply being on for so long. We have no choice but to turn off like a little light bulb or switch that you turn on and off, figuratively speaking. Co-occurring stressors such as your physical pain, heightened anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress and the like will likely to serve further on to drain out our energy reserves that we had basically to be up and go. I, like many other autistics that I may have known or talked to, may agree to a degree of what I'm sharing here with you all today, that we all make 100 conscious decisions at a minimum within the first hour of myself waking up, however, and then till the end of the day when it finishes, when I'm trying to sleep at night. What other individuals might decide subconsciously on a type of automatic mode, or as for me and my thoughts, sometimes will go to autopilot mode straight away. I don't and may not decide subconsciously, as there are so many thoughts that are running through my mind all the time, all at once, so it tends to get in a muddle. Sometimes it tends to the point that I'm ruminating it for quite some time of these thoughts and what have you. The way I process in life can be compared to the sensation of one that feels when they concentrate on their eyes blinking certain times a minute or what have you. When focusing on the eyes closing, however, we are distracted by an automatic action or response that would normally not be a distraction. Blinking doesn't involve thoughts, however, as we know. It's just an automatic response. The way I process is similar to the sensation of paying attention to the one that is blinking their eyes. I am pulled into the blinking of my own thoughts, however, we could put it. My brain, like many other autistic brains, will, however, seek certain connections through different types of patterns, regardless what they are. Certain patterns like colour patterns or some sort of routine that we go about as well. While this pattern is going on, it will again go onto autopilot mode or super drive all day long. This will involve us to solve, reason, rearrange, decipher, and conclude our way of thinking. Every move I make is an effort as well as an action I am noticing. And behind that action there are many multiple scaffolding thoughts that has to unravel one by one. Where someone might think about 6 things in relation to a feasible outcome, whereas I might be thinking about 50 to 100 if I'm lucky on a given. What one throws out as a die with 6 sides, however, for example, I might as well throw out as a 10 dice with 6 sides on each. Or even just 5 dice as well as 6 dice in each, depending on the given. What might commonly go unnoticed by others, to them is a heavy blink to me with multiple facets, some hidden, some upright, some tossed off the table and whatnot. The questions of how many steps to take, which room to enter first, which task to accomplish next, which word choice to use, how long to linger onto the one topic aren't just the familiarities, however, for us. These are essential elements of my very core existence. And behind those questions, evidence will be gathered and the past. Visual flashes of what has been, or what could have been, or would have been, or should have been, will be flashing right in front of my eyes. In many moments, I may look like a bystander, set within a machine carried out where it may lead, with no steering wheel or access to any form of controls that you need to control me. An entity within a larger calculating entity, and this entity, however, is like deciphering the feasible best route to everything, including my very own thinking processes. As my mind continuously is working, nothing is disqualified from being factored into an outcome. Even my toothpaste brain, how much toothpaste should I squeeze out, and the flow of the water from the faucet are scoped out and theorized and then neatly tucked into a web of data that's accumulated and calculated. My thoughts are then obviously gathered and moulded into a shape of some form, moulded and placed into a previously open drawer if there's any, a unit only to be reopened and reassembled during a later point of time to be thought about. I mean essentially a vast storage house with feelings and emotions along with these thoughts. Regardless of it all, after all, I'm still human. Seeing as I am constantly moving within strings of web data to gain relief, I am instantly drawn to some of a resemblance of predictable patterns that is shown, something to alleviate the constant sensation of gathering, sourcing, and storing. In my day-to-day living, however, I may seek out again some of the familiar sight, scenes, taste, touch, and all the other 5 classic senses. Because even on the given, the familiar doesn't need to be analysed because it's already been remembered and stored and sorted and gathered. And in that ultimate package, there is an ultimate refuge and safe haven for me. Familiarity can come in multiple shapes and sizes, however. In a predictable routine, a familiar voice or face that I've come to know and hear about, a soothing melody that I listen to, a favourite movie or book that I read or watch, a pattern of speech that I fluently use. When I am unable to find the predictable retreat in that familiarity, regardless of what it may be, or when something pulls me into that state of overloading again, especially when I'm already at that full capacity of that input of the gathering data, I cannot help myself but will go into that shutdown stage. As I said before, imagine me as a little computer. It is again on automatic or autopilot mode. My brain understands no other way to refuel it and get back to the place of a semi-peace and harmony stage where I was. Unfortunately, the space of being able to shut down isn't always comfortable, yet sometimes it is necessary to get me from place to place, or even one place to the next. Like a little tattered bridge that has been built and had to be rebuilt, a booby trap of some sort of war zone I've been in, strung across and even over a deep chasm of the unknown. A classic example during my shutdown is maybe just to illustrate is I am unaware that I am in that shutdown mode at the very stage of starting up. Usually a part of me knows, but most of me feels confused and seems to throw off balance. At this point, I can do nothing but be myself or just let it be. I haven't an ounce of energy or thought process left to help myself or anyone else in that given matter if they need me to be there. I am literally a computer unplugged, non-responsive, unaware of my surroundings, and maybe lost somewhere. I may be unable to form complete thoughts or may talk aloud to myself. I spend the majority of time alone, in isolation, away from people. However, I could be sitting in the same room as someone else, but be lost in my mind and in my own very deep thoughts of whatever is coming to me. As a result of little to no energy whatsoever, I may skip having showers, may not brush my hair, stay in my pyjamas all day, or I may not or don't want to eat. The choices I make. This experience for me isn't related to depression, however, or whatsoever. No, this is far from it, so don't confuse this with depression. I finally feel like I can breathe and not think. I can curl up into a ball and sleep, or I can curl up like a little cat ball and sleep. Shutdown may lead to an implosion or a minor meltdown for some of us. Sometimes after a shutdown, or even before a shutdown begins, I experience an implosion of thoughts. My brain does what it does best by steaming out web-like connections to try and solve a problem or even some continuation of thoughts. Only it's a problem I can't already or readily identify. During these implosion stages, I turn my anger inwards and use all or nothing self-talk to myself. Sometimes I may self-destruct myself in the way of words, but this is how it is. I use words like never, what was I thinking, I can't stand this, I won't be able to do this, I'm done with that. Sometimes I might tend to pull the plug and call it quits before it even began of what I have to do of my day if it gets too much for me. My mind in itself will search for relief, making big plans as in schedules. I convince myself into the finality of my situation, that I'm at least leaving something behind, trying to turn over a new leaf, making a life-altering decision regardless of what it may be. This usually means wanting to demolish an aspect of my own self and the way I may do things. I long to become tougher, stronger, even if that goes against my core values. I believe if I am tainted, angry, rude, better than, then I will be able to make a stand for myself. But however, again in my implosion, I will turn my back on a large part of myself, thinking who I am, who I was, who I used to be, ultimately continually betrays me. My self-expectations are extreme. I pressure myself into rearranging traits of self that weren't ideal or aren't ideal for me. I do some self-punishment on myself for the past decisions and actions I made. I do, however, criticize my bad behaviours or just behaviours in general. I cannot believe I ever thought that way or acted that way. I shouldn't be this way. What is wrong with me are the continuation of these thoughts that ruminates inside of me. I tend to over-exaggerate the dire state of the current relationships I've had and put the self-blame on me. Everything that is ultimately somehow my fault, when I know that it wasn't my fault in the first place when things go bad. After all, I should have known better. What is wrong with me to think they ever cared about me, to have ever trusted them, or to ever believed in them? I wallow in self-pity and hate myself for wallowing in self-pity, as well as being trapped into this chamber of isolation yet again. Fortunately, however, this is part of how my brain's grand analysis scheme has led me to directly dissect my previous shutdowns and meltdowns in the past. Given the ability to analyse any of the elements of my past experiences, past judgments, past thoughts, and what have you, I have been granted opportunity to establish certain blinking light reminders to guide me through this. Certain reminders that enable me to, and optune some of the moments, to logically steer myself into direction of less self-injury and poor decision making. This is a delicate balance for me in helping myself during these stages of my shutdown or meltdowns, regardless what it may be, as I need to allow myself to think too heavily so as not to fully drain all my energy needs and reserves. But at the same time, I must allow myself the opportunity to engage into some of this constructive self-talk. Also, there's only a finite point of time in which I will actually recognise I am in this shutdown stage. Excuse me. And be willing to listen within reasoning. Some of what I tell myself includes, excuse me, this has happened before. This is nothing new. This is part of the way your brain works. You will come out of this soon. You will be okay. Try not to follow through any other major decisions while you're in this state. You cannot reason yourself out of this, so just go with the flow if you can. If you shame yourself, it's okay. It's only for temporary. It's a delicate dance in which the first one and me must recognise they are trapped in this shutdown stage, and then will manoeuvre through it without having to burden themselves as well as their minds, and causing the act of further sinking into the mental exhaustion. This is difficult to explain to anyone unless they thoroughly analyse what happens in the thinking patterns of our autistic brains. Like anything else in the autistic world, nothing is simple, nor can be simplified, so it's just a matter of knowing what's right for us. Well, this basically quickly ends what Autistic Shutdown feels for me and others like me. Give me the like for thumbs up, comment below. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Feel free to share these videos around to family and friends. Feel free to private message me, basically, if need be, through here or on Facebook. Follow me on my social media sites if you haven't done so. All the choice is yours if you do want to or not. No pressure. Feel free to also, just like I said, regardless of sharing these around, maybe to try and find ways to support one another regardless of it also. And all further ado, guys, thanks for support, thanks for watching. Do what you love what you do. Until next time, Aspie signing out, and I'll see you again soon. Ciao for now.